another day. I prayed soon as I woke. Never thought I'd be the victim of a paralyzing stroke. I woke up at 5:20 just to start my day to day. On this morning I'm feeling different, damn, feeling some kind of way. I got my coffee, then got my daughter ready, headed out the door. Things seemed a little different, I gotta head it down for sure. So I'm off to the babysitter, Miss Mimi is the mom. As I'm leaving, she was asking, was there something going on?
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing today? We're back. I missed you guys. It's been a long week, and I'm glad I'm back here with you guys for another episode of Deaf Taught Us How to Live. We're still in the month of May, so this is Stroke Awareness Month, and I want to keep on with that theme of what we've been talking about all month long, of how to be healthy if you suffer a stroke and what you should do afterwards. You know, a lot of times people want to go to modern medicine and forget about natural healing and what the best way for you to grow from after a stroke, how to heal your body naturally. And today, I want to make sure that we touch on that topic. I have an interesting young lady that's going to be on the show today. I met her in New York. And it's, you know, it's just so wild how things happen sometimes. I was at this event and I met this particular person. You know, I'm watching her. I'm like, okay, she's pretty cool. She's pretty cool. And she's telling me things that happened to her after a stroke and how she healed herself. And I'm watching her. I'm watching her eat. She said, I just eat fruit and I'm not hungry. And I'm chowing on all different types of food there because I'm hungry. But she's having this long in-depth conversation with me, but she just has a couple of grapes, maybe a couple of fruits here and there. And she was satisfied with that. And I'm like, I need to get on her level because she had the same type of ailments I had. And she cured herself of that. So enough about that. Let's bring her on and let her talk for herself because I'm just doing a lot of disservice right now. So without any further ado, we have the Love Movement. And this particular person here, I guarantee you, is going to give you some information that's going to change your life if you're a stroke survivor or non-stroke survivor. So let me bring her on. Hello, how you doing today? The Love Movement is here.
AVM, how you doing?
I'm great. Yeah, it was kismet. I met you and we wasn't not supposed to meet each other. It just happened that I think you told me, it was like, hey, I just saw this event this morning. I decided to come. I'm like, all right, cool. And we was just talking for hours. They was on stage talking. We didn't care. We was just talking and chopping it up, you know, discussing things. And it was real cool. It was real cool. And it's like sometimes I wasn't really planning on going to the event, but I went and I'm glad that I did. And I met you. But before we get into that, I want to know a little bit about you, you know, who you are, what happened to you, and what made you come into this particular arena of helping other people out after they had a stroke. So can you give us like a quick synopsis, about 5 minutes, about who you are?
So I'm the Love Movement. My name is Keisha, but also known as the Love Movement. Pre-stroke, I did strategic marketing where I introduced relationships that are mutually beneficial. And I was already on a clean eating journey, a healthy eating journey. And then when I had the stroke, which was really, confusing for everybody, the doctors, myself, that's when I became, just more knowledgeable about it. Of course, after I went through all the rehab and all that stuff, while I was in rehab, I started kind of feel like guided to like look into things and just dig deep into just eating cleaner, like figuring out, how do I get comfortable with this, how do I get rid of this discomfort that I'm feeling? And I was paralyzed. I couldn't talk. It was, it was a mess. But anyway, so that kind of led me on my journey to helping other people deal with things that, chronic inflammation or illnesses like that. I put them on certain diets and they were reversing it, and I just come to realize that, it's not the food, that heals your body. Your body heals itself, but the food creates the environment. You have to eat the right foods to create the environment in your body for it to heal itself.
You just said something there that I didn't even think about before. It's not the food, it's the body. Can you break that down a little bit further? Because I don't think people understand that. Because I know for me, I was like, hey, I just stopped eating processed foods. I can stop eating um, sugary substance,
Hmm.
carbohydrates, that I'll be better. What do you mean by this? The body, not necessarily the food.
Well, because if you think about all the people in history who have fasted to, help to resolve illnesses, right? That it shows you the body's a self-healing mechanism. But we get in the way of our bodies functioning at optimum level by all of the processed foods and just all the things that we eat that are called foods. So if we just move those out the way and allow the body to do what it does, then we're going to be able to function at a more optimal level. And the reason why fruits particularly work very well is because they're one ingredient, they're a whole food, they're made for humans, right? They have natural carbs, they're sweet, um, they have natural minerals and nutrients for our bodies, and they have a lot of water in them. So hydrate, get super hydrated, H320, as opposed to just regular H2O, which doesn't really feed our cells. When you drink a lot of water, you don't really hydrate. You'll know hydration when you eat lots of fruits. You'll see your skin glow. And also they're a cleanser. They're the number one cleanser of anything you can ever think of. Fruits are a number one cleanser. The water in fruits cleanse your body, and they detoxify you. So yeah, so it creates the environment in your body for your body to do what it needs to do for itself and heal itself.
Okay, I think I understand that. So, getting the foods, the way I introduced you is it was pretty interesting because I saw something that you did now, and I don't know if you was paying attention to it or not, because I guess it's just your lifestyle, but it's something that you did versus what I was doing, and I noticed like that. I wish I was like this.
Mm.
So, what made you? I know you said you was on the journey already, but what made you say, "Oh, I want to heal myself because I see these informations and I want to talk, I want to walk. I think you was telling me you had pins and needles on your side and you eliminated that as well. But what made you say, you know what? I'm gonna stop fighting my urges and I'm gonna really be kind to my body and feed it what it needs. What was that aha moment for you?
Well, prior to the stroke, I'd already been kind of doing like these, cleanses, like I was just on a journey of, I was eating, like, let's say I started off with like alkaline, like Dr. Sabi alkaline foods. Um, and then I just, I kind of did everything you could imagine to just learn about like what made my body feel lighter, feel better. So the fruit came, honestly, was spiritual for me because I don't know what made me like eat fruit. I started to binge on, as a matter of fact, I was binging on YouTube. Um, and I saw a video of a gentleman by the name of Dr. Robert Morse. He's a gentleman he's a biochemist, and he's renowned in the healing community, um, specifically on helping people heal with fruit and herbs. So I binged on his videos, he made so much sense. He broke it down in really practical, applicable way for me, and I was like, that makes sense. So because my body was felt so uncomfortable, like the pins and needles, just all the things that were happening that I couldn't fix, and the doctors couldn't fix it. I was frustrated. I was just willing to try anything. So, initially, I actually started with fruit and herbs, right? So, thank goodness, I had a nice amount of savings, because I didn't have any insurance at the time. So I am just buying a bunch of herbs and just doing everything I could do to help resolve this feeling of like, because the pins and needles, for anyone who hasn't had a stroke, when you feel that feeling, you could get turned into, you have anxiety because you feel like you're gonna have another one. Yeah, so I had actually had two strokes. I had the first one, which was like the massive one, and I had another one literally a month later, because they cut my neck there and gave me a. They thought it might have been due to a carotid artery, and following that, I had a stroke on the same side, so that let them know that that wasn't the case. But also my doctor told me, that, they didn't have to do that. All you had to do is put a stethoscope to my neck and hear. You can hear a carotid artery, but they just didn't know what was wrong with me. They couldn't figure it out because I didn't fit a profile. But anyway, so I spent so much money on herbs that my bank account was like depleting. And then I'm doing different modalities. I'm like going to Chinese doctors. I'm just doing anything and everything I could do to get answers because I just didn't want it to happen again. Um, and that's when I ended up coming across another brother who is, I call him a mentor of mine. His name is Orville Douglas. And I guess a lot of people might have heard, like, remember the craze recently, all these watermelon challenges and these fruit challenges. So Orville has been doing that for years. He's the person that really put that on the map. Quiet is kept, and a lot of the leaders in that space that did it didn't really give him any credit for it, but they came under his program. So he and I, have a relationship, and we would, I would call him up and ask him, I could just only do this on fruits. I don't need herbs. He's like, yeah, you don't have to use the herbs. The herbs, just kind of, push things out faster, but the fruits alone will cleanse your body. So I tried fruit because, my bank account couldn't do the herbs anymore. And that's why I ended up on fruit. And so I honestly, I mean, it was life changing. I just started to feel the difference. I started to feel like, my body feeling relieved of a lot of the problems that I had. Like I had esophageal erosion, and I asked my doctor, how did I get that? And a GI doctor, and they said, oh, it's probably some of the medication we gave you. She's saying that and handing me medication to take care of it. And if you don't know what esophageal erosion is, it's really uncomfortable. Like feels like it's like attributed to like a mini ulcer, right? And it was just really uncomfortable, and I just felt it, and I had that for 3 years, right? And I couldn't get rid of it. But when I put myself on the all fruit diet, I mean, literally, it went away in 2 weeks. So I mean, so many things that yeah, I just attribute so much of my healing to me putting myself on all fruit.
Okay. You're giving me a lot here, and I'm trying to dissect this. So the herbs, too much for your bank account. I get that because I tried to do that in Jamaica, and that was like $200 for a month supply. I'm like, this is not gonna work each and every
Yeah.
month, plus
Hmm.
food and things like that. I can't do it. But
Right.
the fruits, and I'm very curious about this because I was, like I said, I was watching you. I was watching your plate, and like you had a couple of things on your plate, and I'm starving. I'm eating everything, and then you were just cool having a conversation with me the whole time. So, can you explain to me on a typical day what you eat when you have this fruit diet that you're on?
So when I do a fruit cleanse, like right now, I'm on a fruit cleanse. When I do a fruit cleanse, I mean, you can eat any of your favorite fruit, any fruit that you love to eat that is sweet, high water content, and ripe. So any of your favorite fruits, you just go to town on. You feast on them. So there's no fasting. You can eat as much as you want at any time. Because the whole thing, the concept of it is because fruits digest like watery fruits, not like bananas or anything like that, but high water content, mangoes, apples, oranges, grapes, berries, all those things.
Listen to my sound.
That because okay.
Well, my producer's telling us that we have some kind of comment on here, so you didn't have to just stop in the middle of your thought, but just she wanted to
Okay.
get it out. So let's just get it out. We have here Michael saying that healthy eating is much more expensive than not. It's sad.
So a lot of people have that misconception. It's the biggest misconception of all. So I actually run these 7-day jump starts, and this is with people who aren't stroke survivors. These are with ordinary people who just want to get healthier and solve chronic inflammation as a problem. And they were all shocked to see that, it's not expensive. It's actually pretty inexpensive because uh, anything that's not, first of all, fruit alone, right? If you eat only fruit, I mean, you're not spending a whole lot of money. And the difference is when you eat something that is a whole food like that, like a fruit, it feeds you at a cellular level. So let's say, where people eat a lot of, let's say if you eat pastas and all this stuff, right? There's chemicals in that stuff that make you crave more. So you eat more than your stomach is only the size of a closed fist. So, but that's why a lot of people get extended, extremities, right? because you're stuffing yourself. You're eating something that the chemicals are telling you you want. You don't even really want that. But when you eat fruit, you're satisfied. Like you're like you don't need as much, you know? Like I would eat a little bit. Like I'll eat like, after a while when I start on the fruit cleanse again, because I come from eating, I still eat clean, but when I start on the fruit cleanse, I'll
Listen
eat
to my
um
sound.
and then I'll get used to eating that. And once I eat fruit, I'll buy a lot of fruit. But then after a while, I'll only eat like one sitting a day because I'm satisfied, you know. But also too, your hunger sometimes it's addiction, you know.
And Michael, I will attest to that. Like I was saying, I was starving. I was eating everything there at this event, and the love movie was just. I'm telling you, she had like 6 fruit on her plate, and she didn't eat any of it. And I'm like, I'm starving, and having conversations with her. She's just going about her business. But before we go any further in that day conversation, I think we have another comment coming in. So let's read that. Sensei Marv, eating
There we go.
unhealthy is expensive.
That's right there. That's how because once I'm telling you, look at eating unhealthy costs you your life, your livelihood, costs you a bunch of medical bills. So, a lot of us talk about eating healthy is expensive, but not when you calculate the cost of eating unhealthy, including, just a lot of people don't understand how eating unhealthy attributes to even your mental condition, your just the condition of just your spirit, so many toxins in the food that when you eat all these processed foods and everything, like it's so many things attached to that, but once you start to eliminate those foods from the diet, like, there are kids that I tell the parents, like, take them off of all this processed stuff, and they're like, oh, this such and such is so calm now. Yeah, because he's not being fed 1,000 sugars. So it's really simple. It's interesting because it's not as difficult as it may seem, but it's people don't understand how simple it is, that they don't even believe. Like when you tell them it works, they don't believe it until they try it. They're like, wow, okay, it was really that simple.
And that makes complete sense. And I think that's the part that people can't get over. They're so accustomed, they what we call it comfort food.
Mm-hmm.
Or when they feel in a certain type of way, they say, okay, we're gonna do this to make ourselves feel better. But after a while, they feel worse.
Mm-hmm.
And your mood shouldn't swing that much based off of the food that you're eating. You're eating food that's actually messing up your brain, messing up your body. You're not supposed to have that extra weight on your gut. Those are all information that you actually have, and you have to get rid of it. So I get what you're saying, and I think that's the most important key that you brought out. Sorry, the love movement.
Okay.
It's more expensive to heal yourself from those foods. You have, like you were saying, you have this esophagus issue that you had, and it was based off the foods that you was eating, and it was killing you. We had strokes. People having strokes because they have too much bad cholesterol, or heart attacks because of bad cholesterol, because you're eating the Happy Meals at a certain type of establishments, because you eat all these processed foods and you don't even realize what you're doing to yourself. Do
So,
you
so,
ask that?
so I had crazy thing is I've been eating clean since 2015. I had a stroke in 2019, right? So this is why everyone was confused. But the reason why it's so important is because I was reared on the same foods that most Black Americans eat, right? So I stopped eating that in 2015, but I still had to pay the piper in 2019, which is crazy. Even though I was already on a healing journey, I was eating clean, I still had all of those years of just all that bad food in my body, that was already creating problems behind the scenes that I didn't even
Hold on,
know was
hold on,
on the
hold on, hold
table.
on. You just went down a rabbit hole that I don't think people really understand what you're saying, and I'm not gonna
Mhm.
let you slide past that.
Yeah.
So you're telling us that you was eating all different types of food up to 2015, and
2015.
then all these 4 years later, you had a stroke based off of the foods that you was eating prior to that. Is that what you're trying
Well,
to tell us right now?
I'll explain how that happened. So
Please.
I had fibroids, right? Fibroids, I don't, it's very popular in the Black community, but, I learned from my mother and a doctor. My mother's like, oh, that's genetic. It's a lot of these things they say is genetic, right? And I understand why, because they don't know any better. Oh, that's genetic. My doctor, oh, that's nothing to worry about. It's like the size of a quarter. The problem is when you have fibroids, right? I didn't know that you could, like, here's how it happens. Fibroids cause women to hemorrhage during their cycle. So the first sign of, so you hemorrhage. So if you're bleeding out like that, right? Next thing you know, I need emergency blood transfusions and I'm not knowing why, right? So my hemoglobin was at a 4.7. I didn't understand what that meant, but I went into the hospital. My mother begged me to go because she's like, "You look pale," And at this time, I'm already like, I'm cleansing. I'm like, oh, maybe I need to eat more, fruit or food or whatever. I don't know, but I'm thinking that my energy's low. But usually when I cleanse, my energy would be higher, go through the roof. So I'm like, something's going on. Um, but yeah, my hemoglobin shot down to a 4.7 when I walked into the hospital. The doctor said, have you ever had a blood transfusion? I was like, no. He said, well, you want to consider one? I was like, I don't want nobody's blood in my body. And he's like, all right, let me break it down to you. Your hemoglobin's 4.7. Cardiac arrest is 3.3. Normal is 12. So, think about it. I was like, okay, put the blood in my body. But anyway, so how I had the stroke was because when you bleed out that much, right? And then you're on a cycle. Every month it happens. So you don't have enough time for your blood to build back up, right? So it's putting wear and tear on my heart because my heart has to work extra hard to pump blood through my body that my body doesn't have. Okay? And so it created a clot in my brain. And that's why I had the stroke.
Okay, you're giving me a lot, and I'm glad that you're giving and you're being so transparent with this information. May I ask you how old were you when this happened?
When I had the stroke,
Yeah.
I was 46.
Jeez. You look so good for your age. My goodness gracious. I thought you was way
Thank you.
younger than that. That's beautiful. I love that for you.
I'm 53, man. Fruits, fruits, fruits.
What?
53.
No,
February.
you're not. No, you're not. Stop it.
I'm 53.
You older than me? Yo, everybody, thank you for coming out. We gotta go. This is crazy. This is crazy. But I love that for you. I really love that for you. But that even attests to what you've been doing with yourself and you've been cleansing yourself and how young you look. Like you said, the fruits have actually helped. Oh, look at my
Listen to my sound.
get back to that thought because I don't that 53 is really killing me right now. I love that. All right. What do we have on the screen, producer? We have Michael here again. I have esophagus issues as well. One paralyzed vocal cord. How helpful would you say changing my diet would be?
Well, I would say that, yeah, cut out. I mean, I would, anybody, so eating, like removing all processed foods is always number one, right? But I always go to cleansing because cleansing, like, it doesn't make any sense to switch your diet and it still put good foods on top of like a dirty system, right? So go through a cleanse, like just go on a fruit cleanse, only fruit, just high water content fruit. Um, if you want to like learn about a program, there's a brother named Orville Douglas. Look him up on Facebook. I suggest him because that's his lane. That's all he does, and he's a fruitarian of like 13 years, and he's 62 or 63, and he looks like he's, I don't know, 40. But he leads those programs, and he's got all the education about. I mean, I have it too, but that's his lane. So I say um, cleanse doing fruit only because that helped me with the esophageal erosion. I mean, literally went away. Like it never came back, right? And then once you cleanse your body, then you start to eat whole foods. You cut out all the foods that are processed foods. You eliminate all of them. But I teach replacement and not restriction. So you learn how to swap things out. Like depending on whatever your favorite sweets are, whatever. I'm good at teaching you what to eat and how to eat it. Like combine the right foods so that you don't create blockages in your digestive system. So everything flow because it's all about flow. Circulation flow, food flow, everything flow.
Love movement. first of all, we're gonna talk about that off screen because what that 53 thing is really, really bothering me. That's I love it for you. I'm done serious. I really love it for you. That's really dope. But also, I'm not sure what Michael's condition and how all this stuff happened to him. But I think a lot of people have this issue mentally, and they don't know
Mhm.
how to get over that particular block. What would you say to people like that? I want to do this and I want to get healthier. Do you think this will help? But they like, I want it to happen tomorrow. They don't understand there's a process to it. Like, what would you tell
Cons-
people?
Consistency is important, right? And so look, how how you, let's say, start with one day, then go 2 days, then go 3 days, right? But keep just one day at a time, because if you try and eat the whole elephant, it's too overwhelming, right? If you say 30 days, which is what I say is amazing, it's too overwhelming. But in 2 weeks alone, I mean, when I do my jump starts, people start to feel the difference in 5 days. Like they're just like I've had people like heal their trigger finger that they've had for 2 years. Like on a day 5, they're like, I can close my hand, and now all of a sudden the surgery's off the table. It's really like that. There's so many problems with inflammation that you wouldn't even believe. As far as paralyzed vocal cords, I don't have any information about that. I don't know enough about, I don't know anything about a body, or I'm not a doctor, but I know that eating whole foods and cleansing your body with fruits kind of relieves the body of inflammation, and that helps so many things, you know?
So discombobulated. It takes me so much to get back from backstage. But that's the thing, and I think people need to really ask themselves these type of questions. Like all this stuff is happening to you, yeah, and I understand that you might have had a stroke, your vocal cord is paralyzed. Understand that, but have you changed your diet? Have you start eating whole foods? Have you stopped eating those processed things? You know, have you disciplined yourself enough to be able to do those things, or are you still eating those late night snacks and those disgusting foods that you shouldn't be eating? That's the question that you have to ask yourself. And if you're still doing that, then just like the love movie is saying, just try that particular part and see what actually happens. You
Hmm.
know, make it a new lifestyle. Don't necessarily be like, okay, I have to drop everything and this is what I'm going to do forever. Just start putting the mindset like, okay, be conscious. Like, oh, I ate a fried chicken. Okay, I shouldn't have ate that fried chicken, and now next time you will be more conscious about it. Is
Right.
that what you're speaking on?
Yeah. And also, too, just ingredients, like be ingredient conscious, because a lot of people, buy a lot of food outside, right? So ingredients
Yeah.
are important, because that's where a lot of inflammation comes, and it's not even our fault.
All
Okay,
right.
because this is why a lot of people say, if you look at America, uh, in the 60s, we didn't have the rate of obesity that we have now. And that all has to do with all these chemicals that are putting into our foods. So if there's a lot of people who are busy, you don't have time to cook, and I get it. So if you buy canned foods and stuff like that, make sure when you read those ingredients, it doesn't say like all these extra thousand laundry lists of things. Because if you don't know what that is, your body doesn't know what that is. Then your body's just stuffing it. Like, I don't know what to do with this, and stuffing it everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And then all the toxins go into your bloodstream, and there comes a problem, which is inflammation. It turns into some kind of chronic illness, and you don't even know how to trace it back to
Listen
what the
to
thing
my
is. But
sound.
every time that thing goes off, I can't keep talking. Um, I'm gonna wait till.
Trust me, it gets me too. It gets me too. Trust me. Trust me. All right, we have another comment here. This is from Donna Dunkley. She says, "Good night, you all. Just coming on, catching how you eat. I have to change my diet. You look like you are 40 years old, girl."
Oh, thank you, thank you.
And that's interesting because she's from the islands. 'Cause that's what she says. Good night. That's most of them. That's what they talk. How they say hello to people.
Mm-hmm.
Comments keep on coming on. But that's the thing. Like even when I was there, I used to live in Jamaica for about 3 months. For the last 3 years, I would go there for 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
and I live in Panama now. the food is so much different. I don't see obesity as it is in the United States over in those two different countries because the food is completely different.
It's not. They don't put like they don't inject their animals and all this stuff with all kind of antibiotics and all this like unhealthy stuff. Steroids.
And
Here,
even, they go crazy. And the wildest thing that I observed that they in Jamaica in particular, they love KFC. I don't know why, but they love it. But when you go to a fast food restaurant, they don't give you a 20-ounce cup of soda and you get free refills. It's like this.
yeah,
And that's all you get.
yeah,
But in the
yeah.
United States, hey, come on, drink as much as you want, put all that sugar inside of your belly. And
Well,
what does that do is destroying your brain, destroying your gut,
we're the experiment because whenever you have an FDA, a Food and Drug Administration, all combined, like there's no reason why foods and drugs are combined, right?
mm,
Except for the
mm,
fact that we make you sick and we come up with the cure, and it's
mhm.
crazy how even like when you like doctors, when I was doing fruit, they were like, "What are you doing?" Like I had two heads. Like, "What are you doing? Don't do this. Don't do that." Like they made me like so afraid. But I just, I felt like my instinct. Like, I listened to my creator, who I call God. And
Right,
that's my guidance. I was like, I feel like I should do this. Like I was just like I felt like a strong pull,
right,
toward all these things, and then all of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, you had a miraculous, recovery," and I tell them how I did it, and they're just like two heads. But then I learned that they don't learn about food in medical
right.
school. They In 4 years of medical school, there are 20 hours based on food, so they don't like, and that was it's crazy, right? So I would be in a hospital and just be like, this is what you guys are feeding. Like, it's crazy. Just like, why are you feeding them this stuff? And I was that person. It's kind of like, trying to just tell people, man, like they can't, they not shouldn't be eating all this stuff. But
Hold
so,
on, Love Movie. You forgot the chime came in, and my producer's beating me up right now, saying we got comments coming in, so we
oh
got to
my
get to
bad.
the comments. We can't forget our audience now. All right, what do we have, producer? See how fast she put it up on the screen too. And Sensei
Absolutely.
Barb is coming back. Says processed food is a death sentence. We are an addictive society.
Hmm. It's not even our fault though that the addiction is there. It's intentional. It's like there are chemicals in the processed food that make people addicted to them. It's not even it's not even your fault. This is
Right?
why cleanse is important. Because when you go on a cleanse, your palate changes,
Yeah.
right? And if you do it frequently enough, like let's say if you take 2 weeks out of, I don't know, every quarter, and you do that, right? Your palate changes. All of a sudden, you start to crave healthier food. And the other
Yeah.
food, you start to taste it like, it
And
smells
it
bad
makes you
to
want to
you.
throw up.
Yeah, you don't like the smell. You don't like any part of it. So greasy,
Yeah.
just a lot. You look at it, you're
Yeah.
like, I feel sleepy because it's heavy.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, because you move. So you understand, what I'm talking
Oh
about.
man, do I ever. I love it too.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, but because we're here, we have to do the best with what we have. So you have to be ingredient conscious. You have to read those ingredients. Make sure it doesn't say a whole bunch of stuff that you don't understand. And if it does, read up on what it does to your body, and that way it'll stick. You'll learn like, okay, I'm not going to touch this because this might give me cancer later down the line. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm telling you, all these things are linked. But if you cut out this processed food, like ultra processed foods, and stick to whole foods, foods with the ingredient that you know what they are, you're going to be better off.
You know, the love movement. What I'm taking from this show, and I hope everybody's taking from this show, is the key point that you said earlier that you stopped eating all that crazy food in 2015. In 2019 is when you had your stroke.
Yep.
So we already did a lot of damage to our bodies, so we're trying to do catch up right now, everybody.
Right.
So, and that's the most important thing. We're trying to salvage what
Prevent.
we destroyed.
Prevent. Yeah. Prevent. Like prevention is always better than reversing
Oh man, I don't want nobody to have a stroke.
because
This is the worst.
do not want that. It's
It's
the
the
word. Like
worst.
it's. Let me tell you, but I've learned to kind of be grateful for it.
Me
because I'm
too.
able. Like initially, I was mad. I was mad at God. I was mad at everybody, everything, and any, and I couldn't. Oh, what? I couldn't believe it.
Me too.
But now I feel, like I understand why it happened for me because I wouldn't have all this information. Like before, I had information, and I was already kind of teaching people before, right? Because I was always the go-to person about, eat this way or whatever. But when that happened, that was the biggest thing. I was like, what? Okay, but God was like, okay, now you have a test. Let's see how it works for you now. For you, because now you have something to heal. Because before I didn't have
Let me,
anything to heal.
let me ask you something because you brought up a very interesting point. You said that you're kind of glad it's happening because you got more information. I was speaking to somebody about this the other day because they're at this point now that they are mad, and
Hmm.
it is rightfully so. But can you explain to the people out there when you stop being mad and start realizing it was more of a blessing than a curse, and how did it change your life? Can we talk about that so we can have the people that's
Absolutely.
at the point right now?
So the
Please.
math thing I learned because I would wake up every day and wish I didn't wake up. I went through that process because anyone who's been in that position, you understand like what that feels like, where you don't know what your future looks like, you don't know if who you're gonna be, like you thinking about your career, like you just don't know, right? So what happened was there was a woman who was my best friend. Um, this woman one day was on the program and she had a traumatic brain injury and she was saying things that resonated with me and I was like, oh my god, like she's speaking like whatever she's saying right now, finally she understands how I feel because no one understood it and I couldn't even speak to get like to in a way at the time to like kind of get out what I felt. I was my words were jumbled, so that was even more frustrating for me. But I told my best friend, I said, listen, give me her number so I can call her. I want to talk to her about what I'm dealing with. Because, me and her had met before. So he gave me her number and she talked to me on the phone for 2 hours. And she said to me the one thing that changed my whole life. And it makes so much sense. She said, listen, I know you feel this way now. You know, the road ahead is a long road. I'm not going to tell you it's not. But just understand that whatever you're thinking, right, all the negative ways that you're thinking is because your brain doesn't have the same tools to work with that they had pre-stroke. So you have a broken brain, so your brain is healing. So I just want you to understand it's not you. Okay, it's your brain not having all the tools to resolve like you would have before the stroke. So if you understand that and you know that that's not really you, you know, I want you to be conscious of that all the time. And that pulled me out of that funk. Like right there, I was like, okay, I know that I'm like usually, just I'm motivated, I'm inspired. I'm usually I get up and do what I have to do regardless. I'm not the person that's like, I wish I would die. you know, yeah, but that was a thing that changed me, my whole perception. And then all of a sudden I started to get active, and the more active I became, it took away my focus on what I was feeling. Every time I felt something, I would just do something in a direction of helping myself. I didn't know what it would be. I just did it. I was like, okay, I don't get, let me just try this. Let me try this. I was so busy with helping myself that I started to forget about how I felt, and then only when I sat still, I would feel it. And every time I sat still and feel it, I would start to get busy again, productive, I would say, so that was how I kind of got out of that funk.
So
And then
what
when
I'm
I got
hearing from you,
further enough away from the feeling, that's when I became kind of like grateful for it. Took me a long time to find that space though.
what I'm hearing from you, and throughout this interview is that you had some great people, or you found great people that was intelligent enough to understand what you was going through and help you to get to the next level. So
Absolutely.
what I'm hearing from you is that find people that's intelligent enough to be in your corner to help
Mhm.
you to get to the next phase of your life. Is
Absolutely.
that a good assessment?
Yeah, just don't be afraid to talk to people because there's somebody that like, if you identify with something, right, and you can, and you can like reach out to someone and ask them the question. I had a contact to her, so that was helpful for me. But yeah, like you have right now, there are communities in Facebook. I didn't particularly when I went in those communities, it was hard for me because they were, you have people who are helpful, and then you have people who are going through the process, and they come in there with a lot of weight, and I wasn't ready for the weight, because it brought me down. I wasn't strong enough for it at the time. But you find some lights in there, as well. I think community is important.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you. I used to say on this other show that I had, you have to find your tribe. You have to find the people that love you and it's like-minded, so you can grow to be stronger. And if you have people that's not like-minded, you're gonna probably decrease in your knowledge and decrease in your health and decrease in your life. Okay, enough about that. Now we're at the end of the show, and at the end of the show, we have what's called the hot seat questions. This is where I ask my guests four questions, and I just want a little soundbite from each question. And after you finish each question, just say AVM superhero, I'm ready for my next question. And
Okay.
at the end of that, the fourth question, I'm not going to come back on. I'm going to let you close up the show. So, any information that you have that you want to give to the audience about how to find you or anything that you have whatsoever, that's your time to shine. So,
Okay.
I love movement. Are you ready for your hot seat questions?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Question number one. I got to take my glasses off. All right. What is the biggest myth in stroke recovery?
I would say that the biggest myth in stroke recovery is that doctors can tell you what your rate of recovery is. My doctors told me I had a 20% rate, a 20% chance of recovery. Like, if I listened to that, I would just, and I took that in and I received it, I wouldn't have been where I am today. So I think no one can decide and tell you what your rate of recovery or your chance of recovery is. That's up to you.
You didn't say AVM superhero. I'm ready for my next question.
ABM superhero, I'm ready for my next question. Stroke brain. I forgot.
Question number two. Number two. All right, here we go. Who are you now that you wasn't before?
Who am I now that I wasn't before? I'm probably a lot more present now than I was before. Before, I was a hamster spinning on a wheel. I was just like a lot of people, consumed with work, 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 work. Now I'm a lot more present. I take my time and I'm okay with it. Um, I, yeah, just, a stroke is a humbling experience. So, you're forced into certain circumstances, you just got to surrender to it. So, yeah, present. I'm more present. AVM superhero. I'm ready for my next question.
There we go. There we go. Question number three. Question number three. Here we go. Which was harder to heal, mind or body?
Um, I think the mind is always harder to heal because once your mind is healed, your body comes afterwards. It's the mind getting out of your, the space in your head that believes, or doesn't believe. But once you cross that barrier, your body can heal. AVM, ready for the next question.
Okay, here's your final question. Now, remember, I will not be coming on anymore. So, everybody, thank you for coming out and watching us. Once again, this was the end of May, Stroke Awareness Month. And please join us next week. We will have another great guest. But before I do that, and we go to our next episode, let's finish off this one. Question number 4 for the Love Movement. What is your number one non-medical daily habit?
Oh boy. My number one, I mean, I have no medical daily habits now. So I would guess I would have to kind of say, definitely when I wake up, I pray. I thank God every day for my just just anything that's restored in me. I still deal with a lot of invisible challenges. I still have aphasia. I still process things differently than I used to before. Um, but I'm thankful and grateful every day. So that's my number one non-medical daily habit. Um, and on that note, I guess since he's not coming back, um, thank you all. Thank you, AVM Superhero, for having me on this podcast. This is my first one that I've done. So I appreciate it. And I really hope that the information was helpful for those of you who are survivors, caregivers, and anyone else that, that has a loved one or that's just curious, about it. You can find me everywhere online at ThaLoveMovement with an A. And I'm actually right now, I'm working on a community because I felt like that was the thing that I missed was a community where I could kind of learn about things without all the medical jargon and just like real deal healing in a holistic way. It's by, starting with how you eat. So this is something I'm focused on because I noticed that whenever I walk into stroke environments, they don't talk about food or diet. And it just trips me out, So I'm here to, help bring awareness about that. So I have something online called unstroke.com. So please go to unstroke.com. It's an ugly site right now because we're building it out, but it's going to be really meaningful. So please just submit your email so that I can have it and I could keep you updated on everything. And, when the launch happens, you'll be among the first to know. So I really appreciate that. And thank you.